everybody. Good morning, everyone. It's time for us to get started. It's good to see everybody.
Good to see you.
How's everybody doing today?
Great.
All right, let's do this again. Morning.
Morning.
There we go. I'll see everybody smile. I need a smile this morning. I'm getting run down today, so I need some smile to make me feel better. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming out this morning to the Policy Council meeting. Mr. Farley's not here, so we get the pleasant addition of Miss Linnell's going to do all of Mr. Farley. So that's don't tell Mark I said this, but what a nice thing. I'm excited. So at this time, I think the next thing is, again, appreciate you being here. We'll ask Ms. Sherry if she would call roll. We'll try not to keep you here too long today.
Randy Petty.
Yep.
Sam Gibson.
Here.
Marvin Lust.
Here.
Charlene Whitaker.
Here.
Keisha Richards.
Here.
Cindy Putman.
Here.
Brett Anderson. Terry Dunn. Chrissy Payton. Here. Marie Ferrand.
Here.
Bill Gibson.
Here.
Ann Stamps. Michael Burton. Misty Fife. Barbara Wheeler.
Here.
Don Hollingsworth.
Here.
Bob DeFreeze. Linda Pastrick. Here. Marilyn Davis. Here.
Good. Next thing would be approval of the minutes from the previous meeting back on October the 4th.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any conversation? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that's all. Good. We're moving right along. This is nailed. The next thing would be the UCHRA dashboards and what is that?
Satisfaction survey
There
results.
you go.
All right, so we have added your dashboards to your folders through December. I do want to say that our mega commodity events, we did serve significantly more people in each county, so I just want to thank our staff, our commodity staff, our county staff for making that work. It was a great time. Some of our policy council also volunteered, so we appreciate you guys spreading the word and actually helping at those events. So that you'll see significant increases in commodities. The only other thing I wanted to point your attention to was there's no dollar amounts for the LIHEAP. That was because we were waiting on a new contract. We were continuing to sign people up for regular commodity, for regular LIHEAP. We have received that contract, so we are now gearing back up to get all of these payments out. So we're excited that we do have the funds for our new LIHEAP contract. Does anybody have any questions on the dashboards? There was nothing that jumped out. We about ran out all of our LIWAP, our water funding, and that will not be reoccurring. So we were hoping that it would, but they told us that at this time, there's no more reoccurring dollars for that water assistance.
Is that just this year? Will it be?
No, going forward, no. It was a one-time thing, federal funding. So we've all talked and made sure our state knew how important that funding was, how much it was utilized. We have spent out, we're down to just a couple of $1,000s that we're spending out. And we let them know that we are interested if there were agencies that couldn't spend that fund. The thing is, you have to have this fund spent by March the 31st. So if they were going to give us the funds, it would have to be pretty quickly, or we would not be able to get those funds out to them.
I'm curious. I felt like that was such a win. Am I wrong? I mean, you local directors, that was such a win for us. I even tell how many times I tell people to call Brandy. How do we get that? How do we go about getting that funding back? Because electricity is important, I agree, but water's more important.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe me, just be without water for a couple of days. It's not fun.
There's a lot of problems across Tennessee,
Yeah.
different places.
It's an issue, so, I don't know what we do, but it's ought to be something that the mayors talk about and what we can do. Can you just add that as a thought for Monday's meeting? 'Cause I just feel like that was so important to my people. I don't know about,
You're absolutely right, and one of the cities, one of the towns in our counties, they saw that benefit, and they actually, they put some money into a separate pot to fund and help with water assistance just in the city limits of their town. So, it's not a lot of funds, but they were supposed to get up to $200 to help with that. So that, don't know where those funds come from. They asked if we would administer that along the same guidelines as we did the program. And so, we're doing that right now.
That's interesting. That's good.
Well, now, do you think that, could we talk to, like, our federal legislators and say, hey, this money was available and now it's not? Is there any way you can look into that?
Yes, I mean, I think that would, and like I said, we've been advocating, of course, up to the state level.
Right.
Our team has, letting them know how important, so I think so,
And this was
advocating.
federal money,
Mhm,
yeah?
it was federal money.
It was COVID money, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
If I
yeah,
remember
okay.
correctly.
But if they can carve out, or,
Yeah.
could that even go with your lackey? Could, I don't know,
Yeah.
things to think about.
I think it's something that the mayor's aware of. We're going to DC in March. And I think that was something that we could take as a talking point when we meet with the senators and our congressmen,
Right.
different ones, so, it's important. Okay.
Hey, Mark, can we go around and collect money from people? For UCHRA for the, water and electric
Yeah.
funding?
Yes, we do accept fundraising. What you would wanna do, like, you would specify if you want, to go to a certain program or a certain county, different things like that, then we would definitely look at that.
I got one more question on this. Can we appropriate funds for LIWAC through the UCHRA?
Well, Ginger's not here, so we would definitely wanna talk with Ginger. Those unrestricted funds, I think, can be utilized. However, there's the less restrictions on that. I don't wanna make that, but that is something we definitely need to talk to the finance director to see.
I just know that our local HRA board, Randy brings us money and says, hey, we distribute it, we give a lot of it back to LIHEAP. Why couldn't we do that for water?
Water.
Or I'd ask Ginger about it. Am I correct?
So like we have side programs like EFSP that
That's
can
what I'm
be
talking
used for utilities such as water, gas,
That's what I'm
electric.
Look, if I knew all the acronyms, I would be a genius.
So emergency food and shelter is what Brandy was kind of talking about and the mayor was alluding to. Not all of our counties get that emergency food and shelter funds, but the ones that do, they have a local board, and that local board tells them, how they would like for them to utilize those funds. And so yes, in some of our counties, they are putting that toward water. So I do encourage folks to look into that, emergency food and shelter funding, because that's just another pot of funds that we can assist people in the community with.
Well, now, what about weatherization? Do we have any weatherization programs, or is that part of the funding?
So no, we do have a weatherization program. We have for this year completed all units for weatherization. We only, the state agency lets us know how many per county. Our smaller counties is it could be 1 to 2 units. And so we have also requested, any funds that are left over from any agencies. We're going ahead and continuing to do our pre-audits, so that if we did get some additional funds, we would be ready to go, to weatherize homes. Any other questions about programs or dashboards?
Yes,
Yes.
I'd like to address a food truck that comes to Gainesboro.
Uh-huh.
I was there and there was, six counties besides Jackson County represented there 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow, will be 2 weeks tomorrow. And they got it back last week and it broke down again. And they didn't have any food on it at the time that it broke down this time. So people was turned away with no food last week. And they are just breaking the bottom of the barrel. It's been broke down since the middle of November. We had food giveaway on every Thursday in December. Well, from Thanksgiving to Christmas, they did it every Thursday, but they usually do it every other Thursday. And they rented a truck, was $400 a week to rent the truck, plus the fuel. And it's just, it's drained all their funds. We're raking the bottom of the barrel. And I'd like to find out if there's any way we can get a grant just to buy a brand new truck. Cause they are several counties. I only went back as far as the parking lot, and they were 2 cars wide, which was about maybe 20, 15 and 20 cars. And they were 7 counties, 6, 7 counties represented, getting food for their families.
For their family.
And it's no age group, it's no limit on age group. It can be from 1 to whatever, 100. It's not, it's not just a program, but I would like to, I have talked to Michael Hale's office, and I didn't talk to him, but talked to the representative, and he told me that they have to add everything into the budget, and they'll be starting their budget in March. So I would like to know if there's anywhere, any place. I'm gonna go on up, I'm not stopping at Michael Hale's office. I'm going to Rose's office, and I'm going to, the Senate, and I'm going all the way up. There's got to be a program for this program to help us with this truck. We need a brand new truck, period.
Our best bet is if you know a nonprofit group that wants to help feed people, that's our best bet. And Ms. Barber's correct. We probably spend about $12,000 on that truck. We should have it back this week. So it's not a county thing, that's a church thing. So my church does that, so the church I attend. We feed 230 families every other week with food, non-discriminating. If you pull up, you get a box of food. Don't care who you are, no matter, no questions asked. And we've been doing this for about 15 years. And she's passionate about it, it's part of her.
And another thing, it's not just food. People donate clothing.
Yeah, furniture.
They donate toys for the children, and it's just anybody can come and see for themselves. It's just such a display of care. And these people that does this program, it's all volunteer. I mean, and it's all volunteer for the money, but we're raking the bottom of the barrel. We've been raking it for a while. Last week, they couldn't even rent the truck because they had no funds.
Can I say something positive?
Sure.
We're blessed in our little county about food. We have Chattanooga Food Bank, UCHRA truck comes, and I know it's used like everything else, is what I'm saying. But we have food, the Baptist Church, First Baptist Church helps with the food over there. What's left, they bring it up to senior citizens, and they distribute it out. And I'm thankful myself.
I'm thankful for their program too, and I know we've been blessed. There's a lady comes down there, did come down there, she hadn't been down there in a while. She had a little girl, and she lived in town. And she come down there with a stroller, to get her some food. And I told her, I said, just tell them to give you a box and I'll take you home. You take whatever they'll give you and I'll take you home. And we did that several times, but she's not been back in several weeks. I really don't know, but she would come in a stroller for her baby to get food. But she lived there in town, so it wasn't like she lived way out.
Right. So I just had a comment come in, potentially looking through that community foundation. They do give grants, write grants, so that might be a resource that we could look into.
Sure.
For different aspects of this. So I've made a note of that, I'll send you an email, and we can kind of look, the community foundation, they're an organization that sometimes gives, out of the Nashville area, usually smaller grants, but that could be something that potentially, you guys could look into as a resource. So I'll make sure that Mayor Petty has that.
The way I see it is, old truck, I got it back, it broke down right before they even got food on it.
Right.
So, the only way they're gonna do it, fix it, is replace it, period. If I was rich, I'd buy one.
Buy one, absolutely.
Well,
We are.
Marvin. Marvin.
Marvin, you're gonna buy a truck for us. I'll take the white truck also, Marvin, if you're gonna buy a truck.
Really buy one, I'm that passionate about that.
We appreciate your passion, and that's what it takes takes to make sure our community, to make sure the needs are being met, people like you. So we appreciate you not only serving on this policy council, but also making sure that you're doing everything that you can do in your county.
I'm just indirectly involved with them, I'm not directly involved, but I'm indirectly, take for the people. I go down there and somebody needs a lot of stuff on it, and I take them to get my box.
Fantastic. Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Ms. Linnell? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you did address the issue about the delay in funding.
Yes,
At the electric system, we have noticed that our funds are not coming in as quickly as,
yes.
well, you know, paperwork we sign is guaranteed at 30 days. And so, of course, the customers keep calling because
Yes.
when they get another bill, those bills have still not been paid.
Yes.
So I guess, of course, you know, we like to follow the letter on the paperwork.
Yes, and we do too.
So I guess my suggestion would be, do you think maybe on the paperwork, we could maybe move it up to 45 days?
Let me check and see if that's allowable, yes.
Maybe that's an option?
We do, you know, feel that there has been just, the funding, we've also had some sickness in some of our offices, we've also had,
Holidays and
different things. But we are, this is a priority to get back to how, you know, making sure we're meeting those deadlines. Something that's been, I think, a little bizarre that had really never happened with Lockheed through COVID, we ended up getting like 4 or 5 different contracts, and you were having to manage, not an excuse, but just a reason being. So now it's starting to go back down just to that one contract. But I will take that recommendation, but you should see that coming quicker. Please reach out to me or Judy Sanchez, you know, if you're noticing those delays still
I usually
continuing.
talk with Carrie and she, you know, she
Yeah.
always looks into it right
Yes.
away. But, you know, it wouldn't be a problem with us for it to just say
45, okay.
Because we do keep up with that to see if they do come in on time. Of course, the customers expecting that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for
I
that
appreciate it.
feedback. All right, the last thing, very briefly, is we had done, some satisfaction surveys through all 14 county offices. And very briefly, I just want to give you the highlights. There's nothing in your manual about these. So we did 157 surveys, through all 14 counties. 11 of the counties had new folks that had never received services. 31 out of that 157, this was their first time visiting their county UCHRA office. Out of those 157, 156 stated they received fair treatment. One client selected no, but as we looked on overall, they were very satisfied with the services. So was that, did they misread that question, or was there, because everything else was fantastic on that one survey. 151 out of that 157 stated the assistance helped to increase the income available for their household. So that's a statistic that we did like, and all 157 clients stated that they were satisfied with the services that they received. And that's my dashboard and overview of satisfaction surveys.
Good deal. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I have enough stuff. So partnering with TDA, the electric system, we still hope to give UCHRA another 20,000, hopefully, so. But we're still having issues trying to get people to come and apply for the money. You know, of course, we've made ours where it's not based on income. And then a lot of times when Carrie gets them down there, you know, there's other programs that she's able to help them with. But we still have an issue with trying to get them to go, so we haven't solved that issue.
Would you like for us to help with some social media or pushing that out into the community?
That may be, you know, that may be
We
an
would
option,
be,
so.
we would,
We do advertise it, you know, on the radio and
Mhm.
paper, anytime that we have that grant, and hopefully, and I know Carrie does as well.
yes.
And so, of course, you know, we always get comments of, well, you know, someone else can use that money more than I can.
Yes.
Or, you know, they just don't wanna have to do the paperwork, or, they're embarrassed to go, you know, just different things, so.
But I think, yeah, we would be more than happy, just, you can get with Carrie, let us know, we'll get that through marketing, and we can start getting some posts out on that when the funds are there, and when you're ready to do that.
We would love to reach that different group of people, you
Yes.
know, so.
Yes.
They're out there.
I know they're there, you know, and we practically begged them to go, so, you know, and, of course, this time the bills, you know, they're awful. I know I'm sure some of y'all probably got your electric bills, but they are awful. And so, we're definitely encouraging them to try to go and seek the funds, so.
Yes, I think we can definitely partner with you with that, get that word out.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right, moving on to the next thing on the agenda. It is the roundtable. Come to Nell.
And I'm throwing it to Megan Stone and her team.
Good morning, thank you all. I am Megan Schote. I'm with the Upper Cumberland Development District. I'm the director of our Economic Development Department, and I appreciate you all having us and giving us this opportunity to spend a few minutes to talk with you all and to get some of your thoughts and opinions and some feedback on some things that we have been working towards. So for the past year and a half, we have been working with the Empower Upper Cumberland as one of the core partners to that initiative. And so in contrast to some of the other core partners that provide services directly to the participants, we are looking at removing the broader barriers to entering the workforce. So we are focused on a couple of different things, and I'd like to introduce our team, but we want to use this time today to give an update on some of that, and focus specifically on a potential fatherhood initiative that we would like to consider for the region. So Rosa Smith here has been working to improve the landscape for our child care providers. She's been administering federal grants that are creating additional slots across the region. She has helped facilitate a connection with the Bright Start network, which she's actually going to explain in more detail for us here today. And also really digging into the rules and regulations of what it takes to open and operate a child care facility, and trying to advocate for legislative change so that we can make a lasting impact in the availability of those child care slots. How can we make that process more streamlined, more seamless, and more desirable for these business owners and these child care providers to continue operating in that area. Charles Cobb is also on our team. He's working to understand the challenges in affordable housing for that working population, and identify best practices and help to encourage change that can help incentivize additional development in that area. And Sheila Scruggs couldn't be with us today, but she's been researching the need for a program that supports our fathers in the region. And that is the primary focus of our discussion here today. Sorry, I'm getting behind on my slides. So Empower and the work that we've been doing through that comes through TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And they have 4 priorities. And you can see on the slides here, I've highlighted with the boxes the importance of family, marriage, 2-parent households. So the second priority states the end of dependence on government programs through work, job preparation, and marriage. So even TANF, this federal program, recognizes that marriage is one of the ways that families can come out of poverty, typically adding a second income to that household. The third priority is to reduce out-of-wedlock pregnancies. The fourth priority is to encourage the formation and maintenance of 2-parent families. In the Upper Cumberland, 31% of families are single-parent households. 3 out of 4 families that are living in poverty in the Upper Cumberland are single-mother households. So we've been connected to a lot of data and resources and research through our partnership with Tennesseans for Quality Early Education. So this is not only an effort that we're working on to improve the landscape for childcare, but also is really shaping our thought process in the formation of a potential fatherhood program. So Rosa, would you come up here and just share a little bit about TQEE, the Bright Start Network, and our relationship with this group?
Good morning. I'm Rosa Smith with the Upper Cumberland Development District and Empower Upper Cumberland. And as Megan was talking about, Upper Cumberland Development District partnered with TQEE, Bright Start, Tennesseans for Quality Early Education. Through the Empower grant, we found that in the Upper Cumberland there's a lack of childcare here in the Upper Cumberland, especially for working families. So Tennessee for Quality Early Education ensures that Tennessee children birth through 3rd grade gets the high quality early education they need to power the state's future. So within the Bright Start Tennessee Network. We partnership and we formed a steering committee. Some of you may be on that steering committee, that it provides individuals that we will drive decision-making, addressing those gaps in early childhood education. An orientation was held here at the Development District on December the 7th. Megan Cho, Director of Economic Development, was elected as our chair, and Angie Smith, Director of the Child Care Development Lab at Tech, was our co-chair. Within the Bright Start Tennessee, they're reaching 60% of the Tennessee population, where we have been added to their map. You will see there in the Upper Cumberland of the 14 districts there. So within this Bright Start Tennessee Quality Early Education, they have 3 core areas that children need to achieve the 3rd grade level of reading and math proficiency. The high quality birth through age 8 in learning environments, physical health and mental health, and development on track birth in supportive families and communities. So from the steering committee, we had formed working groups around these 3 core areas. Each group has a co-chair that's going to lead, dig in the data for the Upper Cumberland, and pursue to improve these outcomes. Within the 3 core of successes, there are 15 measures of success, which you can see they have the high quality learning environments, the health and development, and the cores under that. But what I want to bring to your attention today, which we feel is very, very important, is supportive families and communities. So within that, we're going to be measuring the safe at home, the positive parent and child interaction, reading with children, supports for the family, and skilled and knowledge parents. So with these 15 measures of success, as we all know, the home is the child's first school, and the parent is the child's first teacher, which why we feel it's very important for us to discuss the Fatherhood Initiative today with you guys.
So in working towards a potential fatherhood initiative, we've held a couple of brainstorming sessions, worked with different organizations across the region, some in the room here today, to begin thinking through what that might need to look like, what our fathers, what our region needs. We've been researching other fatherhood initiatives and programs, other best practices, and so I'm just going to take a few minutes to walk through some of our current thoughts of what a potential fatherhood program could look like and what could serve the men of our region. So we're working to develop a program designed to provide education and assistance to fathers in the Upper Cumberland region. And pretty straightforward, just providing the support through all of the research, and really a lot that has come to us through researching the child care needs and the needs of our children. You know, we believe that the most critical time in a child's life is the first 5 years, even more specifically the first 3 years when brain development is most active. So with that in mind, this program will target both new and existing fathers that have children within that age range. The program that we're proposing it's based on the research of Dr. Dana Suskin, and the belief that the child's potential is greatly affected by the brain development that occurs within those first 3 to 5 years, those first 3 to 5 years. So the goal is to build a community of resources that support the father in his journey to be the first and the best teacher. We want to develop purposeful parenting. One of those avenues is to shorten the time to good co-parenting. As we're all aware, many children are being raised by non-married parents, and when divorce or separation is a part of that family situation, co-parenting can be very difficult, or it could take many years to reach a healthy co-parenting relationship. So we hope to shorten that time frame. We hope to help create a healthy co-parenting relationship in a shorter time frame to benefit the children. We want to encourage a focus on the best interest of the child. Again, not to prioritize the mother or the father over another, but to focus on the child, the mutual interest, the shared admiration. The program will increase the amount of educational opportunities for new and existing fathers, and we also want to create a system change, or a societal shift that really increases the image and the role of fathers. The proposed approach has 3 focus areas. The first is to solidify the bond between fathers and their children. So even with all of the resources that are available on the internet and things that are out there, far too many fathers, they lack the information that they need to understand how to best affect their child's development. So many parents just don't understand the impact that they can make from their parenting practices. So we'll adopt a curriculum to distribute to new fathers to help bolster their role in their children's lives. The second focus is to gain social connections with other fathers. So when looking at families living below poverty, I mentioned that 3 out of 4 are single mothers. Many current fathers don't have role models in their own lives. And so because of this, our program will develop a mentorship program for those men who desire that assistance to help them navigate fatherhood. There will also be counseling for couples as well. And through this effort, we've learned that building social capital, having people in their lives is a primary support to helping people come out of poverty. And so this would help support that effort. And the third focus is to help mothers know the role and importance of dads in their child's lives. So again, especially when you're dealing with divorce, many mothers feel the need to shield their children from the fathers because of the strained relationship that they have. And so this program will work with the judicial system to assist families as they develop parenting plans if they're going through a divorce, or after a divorce is finalized, to foster and encourage a healthy co-parenting relationship between the mother and the father. Now, with any effort or initiative, we understand that partnerships are vital to ensuring the success of implementation. So we are really looking at partnering with our midwives, our OBs, regional hospitals, pediatricians. These are the individuals that are working with parents who have young children. They're meeting with expectant fathers. We would love to see a scenario in which a father is waiting for his first ultrasound with the mother, and someone comes in and spends a few minutes to tell them that these are resources for you. We can connect you to this program. We can connect you to this network of support. Additionally, the child support system, Tennessee Department of Children's Services, the judicial system, these are groups that are working with families who may be in some of those more challenging spots already and can be a great resource for referrals or connect individuals to the resources. We had planned a fatherhood roundtable where we had asked Commissioner Carter with the Department of Human Services to speak about the importance of these type efforts and to share the state's perspective on this focus and these priorities of the TANF program. Unfortunately, it was scheduled for the week of snowpocalypse, and so we have rescheduled, or we had to postpone. We will reschedule at the most appropriate time. But I went ahead and listed many of the individuals who had planned to participate, and would love for you to look through this list and help us figure out who's missing, who can help us develop an appropriate program for our region. Who do you know that might have knowledge? Who do you know that's already doing work in these spaces that we need to know is out there to not duplicate efforts or recreate the wheel? There are half sheets of paper at each of your seats. If you have suggestions or know of anybody, if you yourself would like to get more involved with the process of developing a potential program, please include your information, their information, as much contact information as you have would be greatly appreciated. And then I know we have some other things on the agenda that we want to leave time for, but I just wanted to open the floor for your feedback and comments. If you have thoughts about what we proposed, you can also add that to the sheet there if you want to just think on it through the rest of the meeting. But do you all have, what are your thoughts about, possibly taking this approach to serve our fathers?
One of the things that I didn't see on your list of things is the health department and the WIC program. I didn't see that on there. I didn't know if maybe that would be a good place to start because that's your age group that you're looking at. And also, the Head Start program has built-in father initiatives also, so they have to have participation from fathers.
Oh, that's excellent.
So you may want to check into that too.
That's excellent, thank you.
And Megan, something I learned yesterday, I was in a meeting that Commissioner Carter was speaking, and his intention is to then host, in addition to what we're 3 fatherhood summits in this year. They're wanting to do them in the each of the grand divisions. So I know that they had one last year, a big one, but But he said this time he wants to break it up and do in the 3 grand divisions. So that's on his radar sometime in the spring or summer.
That's excellent, and that is a lot of what spurred this conversation, you know, in addition to what we were learning through Empower and studying these different challenges, but also the state has started to recognize the need for this, and so there was a conference last year where that was a big focus of it. We also expect that there may be a grant come through the state at some point that might support a regional effort, but we realize that it's important, and we want to start looking at what that might need to look like in our region, to be prepared for any future support in funding, or to implement on our own as a region.
The school districts, I'm gonna ask Cindy the question, do the best groups go this young, like 3rd grade?
The best group started in 2nd grade.
Okay,
So,
so
and I think-
specifically the best groups in the school district, whoever the coordinators are.
Right, and that's actually through Heart of the Cumberland and
Oh,
Putnam
okay.
County Schools, that's the partnership, but that would be very important. And I wonder too, and you may have this up there, but a lot of our young fathers are in the, you know, the juvenile justice center and things like that, so I think that's an audience that we really need to focus on, because we have a pretty high pregnancy rate in, you know, school systems and things like that, so if we can get those kids really young and help them understand the importance of being a role model and being involved.
That's excellent. I agree. And we, you know, in the brainstorming sessions that we've had, there's been so many things that we've talked about and really kind of narrowed those into some things that are more proactive. We've talked about, you know, ways we could engage our youth and not only advise upon, you know, maybe thinking through your state of life before becoming a parent, but also just planting the seeds of the impact that they can have or will have when they become fathers, no matter when that is in their lives. And then additionally, more reactive things and working with the justice system or those that are involved in juvenile.
So it seems like on the very front end, there needs to be a motivation piece, like before we start teaching you how to be a good father, a lot of people are gonna need to understand the beauty and the benefit of doing that versus sitting on, you know, playing video games and sitting on the phone and all the things that they do. Why would I wanna do this?
And I absolutely agree. And so drilling in on target population and who we want to serve, and there have been some great ideas thrown out about like ways to engage, using texting apps, using things that meets people where they're at a little bit more, understanding, you know, some of the trends. And there's been some initial conversation around how do you incentivize where someone truly has the best interest and comes for the right reasons. And so there's been some great ideas around making any incentive that's tied to the program be connected to the child. So kind of eliminating someone just trying to get some personal benefit and ignoring all of the casework. But all of this stuff is things that we need to continue talking through, and so I welcome more feedback after today. Or again, if you wanted to join in on this effort and be part of ongoing conversations, we would love all the involvement from each of you.
Yeah. I think we definitely want to speak with Mamie and Head Start, because we do have, you know, some very small fatherhood initiatives that we do where we try to get the dads or male role models to come in and interact with the children. So, and it's hard sometimes for them to find male role models, to come in with the kiddos.
We rolled out last fall, we rolled out.
Any other comments or thoughts or ideas?
I live in a small group.
Oh, good. Perfect. And then we've got time, and so we've got the other presentations, so if you want to continue to think on it throughout the meeting, or if you want to grab any of us afterwards, we will be here, but thank you.
Good deal, thank you, Megan. The next thing we have is State of the Child, Ms. Christie. Right.
Good morning once
is our State of the Child in Tennessee report. So I'll be sharing the highlights of that with you. This is a little bit about GCCY. That we were formed in 1989 by the General Assembly as a permanent commission. This is what we do, and of course the why behind it is to improve the outcomes for children and enhance well-being for children, families, and youth in our state. Tennessee, the State of the Child in Tennessee was written in Tennessee Code. So this is an annual report that is given to the governor. It's distributed to each of the members of the General Assembly and to the state depository libraries. So this is on an annual basis. So this is a lot of data. So buckle up. Here we go. This is our first slide. Economics. This is the overall child poverty. And started looking at some of the trends regarding child poverty due to the fact that poverty is a factor in so many other topics addressed throughout the report. Tennessee has a steady decline in the percent of children living under the federal poverty line. For context, in 2022, the federal poverty line for a family of 3 was $23,030. Although still too high, 17.6% is the lowest we have been as a state and the closest we have been to the national rate, which is 16.3. In this slide, we look specifically at the numbers related to child poverty under 5. I know that was mentioned as an important factor in our other initiatives for Bright Starts and the Fatherhood Initiative. So children under 5 experience poverty at one of the highest rates and are much more vulnerable to the negative impacts due to the rapid brain development that is occurring during that time frame. Tennessee saw an encouraging decline in under 5 poverty between 2019 and 2021, bringing us almost in line with the national average. While the following year, the national rate declined, Tennessee increased to 20, or 1 in 5 of our children under 5. Moving on to high school student mental health. So the next several slides look at the mental health challenges of high school students across the state. These are from the Youth Answers to the Youth Risk Behavior Study, or survey, conducted every 2 years by the Department of Education. The data contained here represents answers from 2021, the most recent available year for data. Nearly 3 in 10 students reported within the last month their mental health was most of the time or always not good. Poor mental health was much more prevalent among high school girls, with 17% of boys reporting this compared to 41% of girls. Additionally, 42% of youth reported feeling sad or helpless almost every day for 2 or more weeks, representing a 63% increase since 2011. Again, these symptoms were more commonly reported among girls. And I'm not sure, I just want to kind of share this, if everyone had, not everyone, but some of you heard about Elmo and the Washington Post. You know, they put a thing out, how are you doing? It was Elmo, and most people responded, not well. So overall mental health is declining in our country, and especially with youth.
That was like millions of responses.
Millions of people responded to Elmo. Yeah. So this is our next slide, mental health for high school students. Mental health, more than 1 in 5 high school students reported they had seriously considered ending their life within the last 12 months. More than 1 in 6 students reported they had made a plan of how they would do so. Nearly 1 in 7 reported they had attempted to die by suicide within the last 12 months. Between 2019 and 2021, the suicide rate in Tennessee among youth aged 13 to 18 increased from 7 per 100,000 to 9.4 per 100,000. The U.S. only saw a small rate increase from 7.9 to 8.1. In 2021, Tennessee had a similar rate of high schoolers considering attempting suicide as the rest of the nation. However, Tennessee students were more likely to report having attempted suicide, and of those attempts were more likely to have needed medical attention. Across all measures, 11th graders had the highest rate of suicidal behaviors. They were also the most likely to have asked for help before their attempt. More than 1 in 3 had asked a doctor, counselor, or hotline for help. Here's a chart showing that same data over the years. Since 2017, all measures of suicidal ideation have increased. The pandemic had significant effect on adolescent girls' mental health. particularly reflected in restricted and disordered eating behaviors. During the pandemic, admissions around disordered eating doubled. More than half of girls reported they had eaten less food or foods low in fat to keep from gaining weight. More than 1 in 3 girls have reported that within the last 3 days they had gone without eating for 24 hours or more, taken diet pills, powders or liquids, vomited, or taken laxatives, smoked cigarettes, or skipped meals to lose weight to keep from gaining weight. We also see a higher prevalence of non-suicidal self-harm among girls, with more than 1 in 3 reporting engaging in this behavior within the last 12 months. Among those who dated someone in the last year, 1 in 8 Tennessee high school girls were in a physically violent relationship within the last year. This represents an improvement since 2019's rate of 1 in 6, though it is still the 5th highest rate in the country. Among Metro National Public School students, nearly 1 in 4 12th grade girls reported an adult or someone at least 5 years older than them had made them do sexual things they did not want to do. 1 in 8 Shelby County students and 1 in 9 Metro Nashville students reported they had been physically forced for sexual intercourse. For children's mental health, this is a chart with behaviors reported by parents that they identified as their child needing mental health treatment. Ooh. There we go. That one. Access to mental health services is critical to addressing the challenges our students are experiencing. In 2022-23, there were 511 social workers serving 545 students. Whew, that's a number, right? A ratio of 1 to 1,909. We don't yet have the data on how that is broken down in each school or district. The National Association of Social Work Standards call for a maximum ratio of at least 1 for every 250 students. When a school social worker is providing services to students with intensive needs, a lower ratio, such as 1 to 50, is suggested. In 22-23, there were 660 school psychologists employed by Tennessee districts. Data on how those professionals were broken out across districts is not yet available. However, in the 21-22 school year, there were a total of 538 psychological staff, and 56% of school districts had 0 or 1 psychological professional on staff. This is mental health treatment facilities. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, the National Substance Use and Mental Health Services Survey, is a survey of substance use and mental health treatment facilities in the United States. In 2022, Tennessee included 220 mental health treatment facilities and reported 73,599 clients in mental health treatment on March 31st of 2022. The survey response rate in Tennessee was 78.3%. 52% serving young children, 0 to 5, 72% children 6 to 12, 78% served adolescents, ages 13 to 17, and 86% served young adults, 18 to 25. 35% had dedicated or exclusively designed programs for children and adolescents with a serious emotional disturbance. 5.9% of facilities were a residential treatment center for children. In Tennessee, the utilization rate of beds in residential facilities was 68, and in hospital inpatient facilities, it was at 72.4. Nationally, the bed utilization rates are much higher at 82.4% in residential and 151.9% in hospital inpatient facilities. Building Tennessee's tomorrow, this is we're moving into education. Anticipating the state's infrastructure needs is the 21st in a series of legislatively required reports produced by the Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations. The report maintains an inventory of infrastructure needs across the state. Each year, the report reviews needs over a 5-year period. In 2023, in the 2023 report, reviewed statewide needs from July 2021 through June of 2026. All of the figures reflected below represent the time period. The 2023 report found school renovations to be the 3rd highest need across the state. 1 in 10 Tennessee schools have infrastructure rated in fair or poor condition. These schools need $2.23 billion in infrastructure improvements. Across all existing public schools, there are $5.8 billion needed to bring the schools up to good or better condition. Tennessee public schools need 2.95 billion in infrastructure for new schools, and approximately 15% of that is funded. Tennessee's public schools need $97.4 million in infrastructure improvements to be in compliance with state and federal laws. Listed are the various state and federal laws and costs associated to be in compliance with compliance, including asbestos, ADA, Education Improvement Act, and fire codes. We'll move into child care and early education. In Tennessee, between 2010 and 2022, there were 9 child care centers per 1,000 children. The map on the slide breaks this out by county. Counties in shades of blue have 10 or more child care centers per 1,000 children, while counties in shades of green have fewer than 10 centers per 1,000 children. So you can take a look at our Upper Cumberland area, and we have a lot of green, right? Across all licensed child care facilities in the state, including those licensed by the Department of Human Services and Education, the average capacity is 76 children, the median is 68. Though this does not take into consideration challenges with capacity that arise from the fluctuating workforce. Child care costs continue to be out of reach for many families, particularly single-income households. For many families, child care is the largest household expense, totaling more than their rent or mortgage. Infant center-based care in Tennessee is $10,301, making it more than the 2023 in-state tuition in all but Tennessee's 4-year public universities. Among all Tennessee workers who are currently employed, 18% cite caregiving as a reason they are not working. The supplemental poverty rate has experienced a historical drop. The supplemental poverty measure includes non-cash benefits like SNAP. Child welfare, this is data from 2021. This has the 4th lowest rate in the country for the first time victims of abuse with 3,962. With the combination of first time and recurring victimization, Tennessee ranks 15th, which indicates higher instances of recurring abuse. Some more information, this is from the hotline report. There were 86 child abuse hotline referrals made per 1,000 Tennessee children. 48% were screened out. 55.5 out of every 1,000 Tennessee children received an investigation or an alternative response. After the investigation, 7,178 children had an abuse substantiation and 25,633 were unsubstantiated. Child victimization. It's noteworthy that the rate of child victimization has decreased from 6.2 per 1,000 in 2017 to 5.0 in 2021. This recent decline could be due to the pandemic. 1 in 4 victims were under 1 year of age. Of infants with prenatal substance exposure, 98.7% had a plan of safe care, much higher than the national average of 7.4%. The most common perpetrator was one of the child's parents at 62%. This was time to investigation. This was the average time between the report of suspected maltreatment and the first face-to-face contact. So response times for priorities 1, 2, and 3 are all above the federal target response time. No, I'm sorry, they're not above. They are all below the federal target response time. In 2017, the average time to investigation was 90.4 hours, and in 2021, the time was 108.7. So it's like 4.5 days from the time of the suspected maltreatment and the actual face-to-face contact. Maltreatment and care. So this is pertaining to children that are already in foster care. Between 2020 and 2022, there are 1,528 foster home special investigation unit investigations. Among those, 1,397 were unsubstantiated, 47 were substantiated, and 67 were unsubstantiated that they had some concerns that were noted. In foster care, during fiscal year 2021, 14,558 children in Tennessee were served by the foster care system. During the last 3 years, the 3 most common reasons for custody have been parental substance abuse, neglect for younger age groups, and unavailable parents and neglect for older age groups. So, although slightly below the federal target, we are still below the federal target. So we're increasing, we've seen an improvement in the services to prevent the removal or reentry into foster care, but we are still below the federal guidelines. The federal guidelines are in red, and the blue line represents Tennessee's foster care numbers. We've seen an improvement in ensuring that siblings are interviewed or observed during the investigation and settlement. We can see that from 2020 to 2022, just in a 2-year time period, it rose from 56% to 84%. This is placement stability. It has steadily increased. At first glance, it appears the percentage dropped in 2023, but there's a special note that the data is for only the first 6 months of activity. Exits from care. More than half of the exits from care were to reunification. Extension of foster care. It's a program that's offered to youth when they exit custody at 18. In 2023, half of the youth that were eligible accepted services, 861 aged out, and 369 elected to receive services. So this is on an upward trend, which is really a great program for those youth that were in custody and aged out. I will say that a lot of times with those children, they get to a point which I'm really pleased to see that the number is increasing, because many times they have been in custody. They do not want, when they reach their 18th birthday, they want to say goodbye. They do not want that support. They are done with the state, with case managers and so forth. So it's so encouraging to see, because it's such a wonderful benefit for them, the aftercare services that they can receive. This one is domestic violence. So you can see the gray lines represent first-time victims. The teal or the blue line represents the repeat domestic violence victims. Of those repeat victims, since 2012, more than 1 in 6 had a border protection that was violated. The next few slides are about youth crime. The navy blue line indicates all ages, and the blue turquoise line represents those under 18. Youth crime is at a lower rate overall, and the rate for 2022 is lower than the rate for 2012. This is youth crime between 2012 and 2022. Shelby, Davidson, and Hamilton counties all experienced a decline in the under 18 crime rate. And you can see Cannon County is actually mentioned as one of the counties that had the biggest decline per 1,000 children or youth. Again, the navy blue line is all ages, and the turquoise line represents those under 18, and you can see that it's under. So for youth crime, it's well under the all ages category. So, youth are much more likely to be a victim of a firearm crime than they are to perpetrate one. Crimes involving a firearm against a youth victim have increased by 133%. This was a survey that was done for those of you who were in detention. Half of the youth reported they needed more help with academics. Those who had experienced one challenge, this is noteworthy as well. The average number of challenging experiences was 6.5 per child. So 65% challenges with health, 69% with education, 63% that had experienced an adversity or challenging situation, and 43% of youth had experienced an economic challenge. Children's health insurance. The number of children covered by TennCare has gone up from 42% in 2012 to 55% in 2022. Special note that among those who were uninsured, 2/3 were financially eligible for insurance. So there's a gap there. The question is why? Infant and maternal care, in 2021, Tennessee had the 7th highest teen birth rate in the country, 21.5 per 1,000 females, ages 15 to 19. Nationally, it was 13.9 per 1,000. After a decline during the pandemic, Tennessee has seen an increase in the number of births to children under 15 in 2021 and 2022. And I know Cindy had just mentioned that when we were talking about the Fatherhood Initiative. In regards to maternal mental health, this is a glance at that regarding depression before and during their pregnancy, and the percent that had postpartum depressive symptoms. 2.6% experienced intimate partner violence while pregnant in 2020, which was significantly higher than the 0.6% just the year prior in 2019. Infant mortality. On this slide, the red line actually represents Tennessee, and the aqua blue line is the national rate. So Tennessee has been above the national rate since 2014. This is infant suffocation deaths. You can see that the number of unintentional infant deaths due to suffocation nearly doubled from 2019 to 2021. And I know the Department of Health has a very vigorous program about safe sleep. And so I think it's being addressed in some areas, but we can see that we still need some work to do in that area. And there's just another picture of it. Tennessee rates are much higher than the U.S. as a whole. Maternal mortality. Tennessee's Maternal Mortality Review Commission found in 2021 that 134 women across the state died during or within a year after their pregnancy ended. This was a significant increase from 2020, largely driven by deaths from COVID-19, which was the leading cause of pregnancy-associated deaths that year. So here's information on the maternal mortality regarding COVID. Noteworthy is that more than 5 out of 6 COVID deaths were preventable. And that is the end of this data portion of the report. And a full report is available on our website, and that is where you can find the full report. And I encourage you to do so. We also have some other publications and like our county profile, so it's a plethora of information and data. And I have some bills that I looked at. There was quite a few bills passed this year, as there always are. I know that there was well over 400. But what I did was I took some bills that were pertaining to the data presented this morning, and thought that maybe, excuse me, maybe you'd like to keep a look at them and keep an eye on their progress during this session. We can pass that out. If you could.
So while Chrissy is passing it out, Mr. Farley, we've also took a look, and he just pulled out a couple of points that stuck out to him as opportunities or successes. So I was also going to pass this around for everyone to briefly look at. Kind of listed.
So these are, just not to interrupt, but so these are some of the bills that were filed this year. And one under commercial law, we did not have data in this presentation about it, but there is a Senate bill and House bill for social media to obtain parental consent before allowing a minor to create an account. There's a lot of buzz about social media and parental controls, and so we want to make sure that we are keeping our children safe. And there's been a lot of information in the news. We've seen X and Meta and all those people sharing information for Congress about social media and how it's affecting our children. I mean, and it really is. There's some psychological damage. There's a lot of bullying that happens on social media, so this is one to keep an eye on. In corrections, the report on diversion to educational programs provided for justice involved youth, so that's under corrections. Criminal law, there's a bill that requires Tennessee Bureau of Investigation to submit a report of child trafficking to the legislative librarian. And even though we don't want to say that
there's a lot of human trafficking here in our state, there is. And so we need to bring attention to it, and we need to have policies and legislation that back our efforts to curb it, and do what we can to, get rid of it, essentially. Storage of firearms. So this is, creating a Class A misdemeanor, which is an offense for a person to store or keep a firearm on the premises of a residence under the control of a person. If the person knows or reasonably should know that a minor is likely to access the firearm. We know that suicide, quite often, the most prevalent way of committing suicide is through a firearm. So this is a very important legislation as well. There's another bill to prevent the sale of tobacco products to persons under 21. That's just a substance misuse that we battle in vaping. Don't have one on vaping per se, but that's also something that is just really rampant in the schools. And it's a problem. It's a big problem. So want to keep an eye on vaping. Another bill permitting a child to have access to a firearm without supervision. Well, here it is, the study of the sale and distribution of vapor products to persons under 21 years of age. There's another bill for validated risk and needs assessment for delinquent children. And under education, notifications to school regarding students adjudicated delinquent for any criminal offense, including involving a firearm. And then there's a list of LEAs, which is your local education agency. That's what MLEA is, that received an infrastructure stipend. So we talked about infrastructure and the needs in our state to put some money in that direction. Creating a publicly accessible website for information on child care agencies. Again, we talked a lot about child care. That's something that the Development District is very passionate about. So there's some bills in there. Extension of foster care services. There's a bill about that, which actually extends the age for voluntary extension of foster care to at least 18 years of age, but not less than 21 years of age. So that's an improvement as well. I know in the past, and I can't say that this is true now, but children would have, a year after they left state's custody, had up to a year to come back and say, I need services. So it wasn't because, again, a lot of times they just say, I'm done. But then they kind of have the realization that I can maybe really use this as an assist for some type of higher education, trade school, college, whatever it may be, but they do receive funding for that. And it's not the same as having that strict case management person in their life. So that's a really good bill as well. Mental health, the creation of a temporary youth mental health service program. Under temp care, we talked about insurance a little bit this morning. So it authorized the governor to expand Medicaid. So that's an important bill. And expanding Medicaid to provide mental health services as well. And then welfare, a study of child care availability for working families. Under that bill as well. So, thank you. That's our turn.
Thank you, Christy. You know, it's always amazing all this data and that your organization pulls together for everyone. And I do encourage everyone to go onto the website and read and look at that full report. Very briefly, just, you know, I passed this out. These were some of them. I'm not going to make a comment on all of them, but just things that jumped out to us. 9 out of the 14 Upper Cumberland County housing cost burden is better than the state average. You know we struggle, but at least we're better than the state average. Our youth graduation rates are higher than the state average. A question though, are they ready to graduate or are they being pushed through? Because when we look at our math and our reading proficiencies, they seem to be very, very low. And also something that we found intriguing was children living in single parent families are lower than the state average in all of our Upper Cumberland counties except for Putnam. So we thought that was interesting. And then one that really shocked was victims of abuse and neglect is higher than the state average in all of our counties. And so we were like, what is going on with that? So just a few of the comments and things that we pulled out. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions?
I was gonna add kind of a current event. Of course, vaping is a runaway problem in our schools, and you can use vapes to get any kind of drug in your system that you want to. just fairly recently installed vape detectors in the bathrooms at the high schools. And that's a little controversial about how it works and whether it's effective or not, but it's really generating some activity.
Kids are worried, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So it's a move to do something about it. They're just overrun.
Yeah, I don't know what it is in other counties. I can tell you that vaping is more of a problem in the middle school in Jackson County than it is in high school. And it don't do you no good to take the vape away, because the parents gonna come, give me my vape, I give $75 for that. It's my vape, they stole off of me, get it back. It's just but it's worse in the middle school than it is in high school. At home, so, I don't know.
Everything changed when you didn't have to light something up, make a smoke cloud. It'd be very covert.
I also had a sixth grader that stoned out of their mind on the okay, so. From bacon. Don't tell me you can't do it, because they have that. Any other comments? Questions?
Just wondered, I know we've done some education programs, as a group, and I had attended a, social media kind of safety thing through, upper middle school, that they had presented, the school resource officer, and I was one of 2 people for the entire middle school that attended, and I was stunned at the things that I learned. And I wondered if we couldn't do something like that about social media safety, and because my twins just turned 15 and they just got their first cell phones, and I promise you, according to them, they were the only children in the history of mankind that didn't have cell phones by that age. But it is scary, and I've put all the, they can't do anything without me approving it and all of that, but there's still so much I do not know. And I wonder if we couldn't try and, get some kind of training like that and just invite the general public, and this was, I just think it's so important.
Absolutely. I will share that iGuardian is a program that addresses just those issues. It's from Homeland Security, ICE, and we have had several opportunities for them to come and speak to parents in the school system and to youth as well. Of course, it's separate, so they have their presentation for youth in the school system, and then they have it for parents, how to keep your kids safe, and they don't so there's no child under 18 that is permitted in that training. But we have had several from our council, and I know that DeKalb County school system has had that program, and you're shaking your head, I believe that maybe it's in Putnam as well.
I think Prescott had that, because they had a huge turnout.
You're right.
They did it there.
And that is free. It is free for any school or community to have that program. We actually did it here in the Upper Peninsula, I think twice now, in the last several years.
There was a study on TikTok in particular, and they set up 13-year-old profiles, and they set up so many that were just like a normal, 13-year-old, and then they set up several profiles that the 13-year-old indicated concern about a weight problem, and the profiles that indicated a weight problem immediately started getting messages about suicide. How to messages, it was very disturbing. And if they watched one of those videos, then it multiplied, it's like the amount of that kind of messaging that was coming, and it got worse and worse. And it's just a horrible thing going on.
If I may just also share that we have our Children's Advocacy Days, so that's something that the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth puts out on an annual basis. It will be at Tribeca University this year on May 5th and 6th. The theme is Be the Change, create a buzz about child advocacy. So we have national speakers, local speakers, and it's all about advocacy for children. It's free event, and again, it's 2 days at Tribeca Nazarene Church on the 5th and 6th. I do have a couple of flyers if anybody would like one, but you can find it on Eventbrite as well.
Is it on Sunday like that?
It is it's March 5th and 6th, which is a Tuesday and Wednesday.
It's election day and the day after.
Yes, it is.
All right,
Thank you for letting me.
you're good. So everybody smile. A lot of depressing stuff there, right? So, God is good. All the time. Y'all are real short on that. It's my go-to to put a smile on somebody's face. Any old business that we need to talk about? What about new business? Any new? All right, any public comments from the public? You have to do that to stay good with audit. All righty, appreciate all of you coming out. Thank you so much for the information. Megan, thank you. Paul, thank you for the passion. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a second? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Allocate with the camera.